Welcome back. Today we're exposing the 10 most dangerous moves banned in MMA. Moves so brutal, they're illegal in the octagon. MMA isn't just chaos. It's a sport with strict rules to protect fighters from catastrophic injuries. These rules draw the line between competition and carnage. Let's break down these banned techniques and see why they have no place inside the cage. First up, let's talk about one of the most infamous and debated rules in mixed martial arts: the 12-6 elbow. This move has sparked endless arguments among fighters, coaches, and fans alike. Picture this: dropping your elbow straight down, just like the hands of a clock moving from 12 to 6. It might look simple, but in MMA this motion is completely illegal, no exceptions. The origins of this ban go back decades. Early athletic commissions saw dramatic demonstrations, martial artists smashing through concrete blocks with a single downward elbow. The visual was shocking and regulators panicked, fearing for fighter safety. But is a downward elbow really more dangerous than a sideways one? That's still up for debate. Critics argue the focused, gravity-assisted force could shatter bones or cause severe concussions, while others say it's no worse than other legal strikes. In dominant positions, a fighter could drop all their weight behind that elbow, turning it into a human hammer drill. The potential for devastating injuries is what keeps officials wary. The risk of a fight-ending or even career-ending injury was simply too high for regulators to ignore. That's why the rule stuck, even as the sport evolved. Even top fighters like Jon Jones have been disqualified for using this move. Some call the rule outdated, but it's still enforced to prevent catastrophic damage and protect fighters' long-term health. It's what's known as a legacy rule, one that's been around for years. In a sport as dangerous as MMA, even the perception of safety can be just as important as the reality. So, no matter how strange or unnecessary it might seem to some, the 12-6 elbow remains strictly banned in MMA. It's a clear line in the sand, one that's not going away anytime soon, and every fighter knows it. Now let's move on to a move that's even more brutal and controversial: the soccer kick. Soccer kicks, kicking a downed opponent in the head like a soccer ball, were not just legal in Pride FC, they were a signature of the promotion's wild, anything-goes reputation. These kicks were delivered with shocking force, and the crowd would erupt every time a fighter like Wanderlei Silva or Shogun Rua unleashed one. But under the unified rules of MMA, soccer kicks are strictly banned. Today, if a fighter even hints at throwing one, the referee steps in immediately. In Pride, legends like Wanderlei Silva finished fights with these savage kicks, creating highlight reels that are still talked about. But the risk was off the charts, and the consequences could be devastating. When a fighter is grounded, their head can't move to absorb the impact. The canvas acts like an anvil, amplifying the force of the blow and making the damage far worse than a kick to a standing opponent. One full-force soccer kick could mean severe brain trauma, skull fractures, or long-term neurological damage. Doctors and medical teams saw the aftermath firsthand, and the risks were impossible to ignore. There's no way to defend yourself once you're hurt and on the ground. It's pure execution, leaving fighters completely vulnerable to catastrophic injury. Athletic commissions in the US drew a hard line. They argued you can't call it a sport if you allow this level of violence and refuse to sanction events that permitted soccer kicks. As the sport evolved, so did our understanding of brain injuries. Research into concussions and CTE changed the conversation around fighter safety forever. Today, protecting the brain is priority number one. Soccer kicks are fundamentally incompatible with that mission and have no place in modern MMA. Soccer kicks are a relic of a wilder era, an era that's best left in the past for the sake of fighter safety and the sport's legitimacy. Now let's talk about another primal weapon, the headbutt. It was once legal, and just as controversial. Headbutts were once legal, but not anymore. Here's why they too were banned, and what that means for the evolution of MMA. Headbutts, using your skull to smash your opponent's face, were devastating in early MMA. In the early days, there were few rules, and fighters quickly realized just how effective the human skull could be as a weapon. The sheer force of a well-placed headbutt could instantly change the course of a fight, making it one of the most feared techniques in the cage. Fighters like Mark Coleman used them to brutal effect, causing massive cuts and broken bones. The damage was often immediate and dramatic, leaving opponents bloodied and battered within seconds. The forehead is a battering ram, and the damage to the fragile bones of the face was extreme. Fighters would target the nose, cheekbones, and brows, knowing these areas were especially vulnerable to the hard bone of the skull. But headbutts are dangerous for both fighters. You risk concussing yourself as much as your opponent. The biggest issue? Blood. Head clashes often led to deep cuts and swelling, making it hard for fighters to continue. Fights were stopped constantly due to gruesome cuts. Doctors had to step in, and referees were forced to call off matches, sometimes even in the middle of intense action. It made MMA look like a bloodbath, hurting its chances of being sanctioned. The sport's reputation suffered, and critics pointed to the violence as a reason to keep MMA out of the mainstream. Banning headbutts helped clean up the sport's image and allowed for a more technical ground game. Fighters could now focus on skillful grappling and strategy rather than just brute force. Without headbutts, fighters could focus on submissions, not just survival. The art of jiu-jitsu and wrestling began to shine, and fans saw a new level of technical mastery. The ban shifted MMA from raw brutality to a contest of skill and strategy. It marked a turning point, helping the sport evolve into the respected competition it is today. Next up, the ultimate foul groin strikes. These are among the most universally recognized illegal moves in combat sports. No explanation needed, but let's break it down. There's a reason every fighter dreads them. Why are groin strikes so strictly banned? Let's take a closer look at the risks and the reasons behind this rule. Groin strikes, hitting below the belt, are universally banned for obvious reasons. The pain is instant, overwhelming, and can cause permanent injury, including testicular rupture and fertility issues. Even with protective cups, a direct hit can end a fight and a career. Most groin shots are accidental, but intentional ones mean immediate penalties or disqualification. The rule is non-negotiable. It's about basic safety and fair play. No one argues with this ban. It's fundamental to keeping MMA a sport, not a street fight. Now let's talk about a move that can end a career in a blink: eye gouging. Eye gouging is as dirty as it gets. Here's why it's absolutely forbidden. The eyes are the most vulnerable target in the fight game. Let's see what makes this foul so dangerous. Eye gouging. Eye gouging, deliberately attacking the eyes, can cause permanent blindness, detached retinas, and career-ending injuries. The eyes can't be toughened up. Even a small poke can do serious damage. Accidental eye pokes happen, but intentional gouging is grounds for instant disqualification. Fighters like Michael Bisping fought with a detached retina, proof of how devastating these injuries can be. Protecting vision is non-negotiable. You can't fight if you can't see. The rule is simple: no fingers in the eyes, ever. It's about protecting fighters from one of the worst injuries possible. Next, let's talk about another gruesome foul: fish hooking. Fish hooking is as savage as it sounds. Let's break down why it's banned. It's not just about pain, it's about preventing horrific injuries. Here's what you need to know: fish hooking. Fish hooking means sticking your fingers into an opponent's mouth or nose and ripping, tearing flesh, causing deep lacerations. It's not a submission, it's pure pain compliance designed to injure, not win. The rules ban any attack on orifices or cuts. This is about keeping the fight professional. Fish hooking can destroy cheeks, gums, and jaws, and is a sign of desperation or malice. Thankfully, it's rare in high-level MMA, but the ban is crucial. It keeps the violence focused on legitimate martial arts, not street fight savagery. Now let's talk about small joint manipulation. Why can't you just snap a finger or toe? Small joint manipulation, grabbing and twisting individual fingers or toes, is illegal. The digits are fragile, it takes little force to break them, and it would turn grappling into a game of cheap injuries. Fighters must grab at least 4 fingers or toes for a submission, targeting larger joints instead. This rule protects fighters' hands and feet, their primary tools, from constant career-shortening injuries. It keeps the ground game technical, not a contest of who can snap a finger first. It's a small rule with a huge impact on fighter safety. Now let's talk about one of the most terrifying fouls: spiking. Spiking an opponent on their head or neck. Spiking, driving an opponent's head or neck into the mat like a pile driver, is absolutely banned. The neck can't handle that force. It risks paralysis or death. Legal slams target the back or shoulders, dissipating force safely. Spiking puts all the weight on the cervical spine. One mistake and a fighter's life changes forever. The infamous Bob Sapp vs. Nogueira piledriver showed just how close MMA came to tragedy. This rule is non-negotiable. It's about protecting the spinal cord at all costs. Next, let's talk about another lethal target: the throat. Strikes to the throat. Strikes to the throat, punches, chops, or grabs are banned because the trachea and larynx are unprotected and vital. Crushing the windpipe can cause asphyxiation and death within minutes. Even a minor strike can cause spasms, choking, or permanent voice damage. The rule is clear: no direct attacks on the airway, ever. It's about keeping the fight within the bounds of sport, not lethal force. Referees watch for this foul closely. It's a flagrant violation. Now let's look at a controversial rule: knees to the head of a grounded opponent. Why is this move banned in North America? Kneeing the head of a grounded opponent is illegal under the unified rules. A grounded fighter's head is fixed, making a knee strike devastating, risking severe brain injury. This rule leads to controversy, with fighters sometimes gaming the system by touching the mat to avoid knees. Still, athletic commissions prioritize safety over action. They'd rather pause a fight than risk a catastrophic injury. In some promotions, these knees are legal and effective, but the risk is higher. The unified rules draw a hard line to protect fighters' brains. It's a defining rule of American MMA, debated but rooted in safety. Now let's wrap up with what these rules mean for the sport. The code of the cage, why these rules matter. These 10 banned moves show the line between sport and mayhem in MMA. The rules protect fighters, allowing them to push their limits and still walk away healthy. MMA is controlled violence, a test of skill, not a street brawl. Understanding these bans gives you a deeper appreciation for the sport's strategy and respect. What do you think? Should any of these rules change? Let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell for more MMA breakdowns.